When the world first discovered Henry Golding, it felt like Hollywood had conjured him from thin air. Impossibly handsome, impeccably dressed, the kind of man who looked like he had been born for movie posters and red carpets. And yet, long before any of that existed, long before the cameras and the press tours and the global fame, there was a woman waiting for him at a New Year's Eve party in Singapore. She was not a celebrity, she was not a socialite, she was not the kind of person the entertainment industry tends to notice. So when one of Hollywood's most talked about new stars turned out to have already quietly married her years before anyone knew his name, people had questions. Who was she? Where did she come from? And what does her life look like now, standing beside one of the most recognizable faces in the world? The answer is not what most people expected. Henry Ewan Golding was born in Kuching, Sarawak, Malaysia, to a British father and a Malaysian Iban mother. He grew up between two worlds, spending his childhood in Malaysia before his family relocated to Surrey, England. After deciding against university, he moved to Singapore to pursue a career in television, quickly booking gigs on travel shows and hosting for networks including ESPN, National Geographic, BBC, Fox, and NBC Universal. Then, in the summer of 2018, everything changed. He landed the lead role in Crazy Rich Asians, a film released in the United States and Canada by Warner Brothers Pictures that became the #1 movie in North American theaters over its opening weekend. It was a cultural moment. For many audiences, it was the first time an Asian man had carried a Hollywood romantic lead in a generation. The response was immediate and electric. From there, the roles kept coming. A Simple Favor opposite Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick, The Gentleman, Snake Eyes, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, and more recently, The Old Guard 2, Another Simple Favor, and a role in the second season of 9 Perfect Strangers. GQ and Esquire featured him multiple times as one of the best-dressed men in the world. He became a red carpet regular, regularly seen in Tom Ford, Armani, and Burberry. The world wanted to know everything about him, including who he went home to. Golding met Liv Lo, a Taiwanese television presenter and yoga instructor, on New Year's Day 2011. The story gets repeated so often because it flips the usual celebrity narrative entirely. They met before Henry became a global movie star. It was Liv who made the first move after they spotted each other from across the room. There were no publicists involved, no strategic introductions, just two young people at a party in Singapore, one of them bold enough to close the distance. Henry later reflected on the moment with real tenderness. He described it as containing a kind of quiet magic, saying it was not a lightning bolt realization, but something that grew as they got to know each other, as they built a relationship and became a team. Liv Lo was born and raised in Taiwan. Her mother is Taiwanese and her father is Italian, a multicultural background that mirrored Henry's own blended heritage. She began modeling at 17 in Taiwan and later moved to Tokyo to complete her bachelor's degree in mass communications at Temple University, Japan. She was not an unknown woman in any diminishing sense of the word. She was building a career in media and wellness, quietly and methodically, but she was not famous, not in the way Henry was about to become. The two began dating, and in 2015, Henry proposed in Phuket, Thailand. They married in August 2016 in Sarawak, Malaysia. It was a private ceremony, rooted in the same region where Henry had grown up, long before Hollywood knew his name. When Crazy Rich Asians made Henry Golding a household name, the internet went to work. Fans who had fallen in love with his on-screen charm immediately began searching for everything about his personal life. What they found surprised many of them. He was already married, had been for 2 years, to a woman who was not a movie star, not a model signed to major agencies, not someone climbing the same ladder Hollywood recognizes. She was a yoga instructor, a wellness advocate, a television presenter from Taiwan, and the response, rather than skepticism, was largely one of warmth. There was something disarming about it. Here was a man playing one of the most glamorous fictional characters in recent memory, a man the world was suddenly declaring the next great romantic lead, and he had spent his real life choosing something quieter, something that did not require a publicist to arrange. Cultural commentators noted the significance of a biracial British-Malaysian man and a half-Taiwanese, half-Italian woman building a life together in an industry that had spent decades ignoring both of their backgrounds. The relationship felt, to many observers, like a quiet statement even when no statement was intended. From the beginning, Henry and Liv were deliberate about what they shared publicly. They appeared together at events, posted occasional glimpses on social media, and spoke warmly about each other in interviews. But the architecture of their private life remained their own. In November 2020, Henry shared a sweet Instagram slideshow of himself and his pregnant wife with the caption, "2021 is already looking brighter." Liv shared her own posts, including one showing her baby bump, writing, "Such immense joy this little one has brought us already." Their first daughter, Lila, arrived in March 2021. The couple shared just enough to let the world celebrate with them and no more. Their second daughter, Florence Lycan Golding, was born in 2023. Liv detailed the birth on her FitSphere website, sharing that she had checked into the hospital due to heavy bleeding. The name Florence Lycan carries a quiet tribute within it, Lycan being the name of Henry's own mother, a woman of Iban heritage from Sarawak. The family now lives in Venice Beach, California. The California sun, the ocean breeze, a life built between film sets and school mornings and weekend routines that nobody photographs. No marriage conducted in the public eye escaped speculation, and Henry and Liv's has been no different. As his star rose and his schedule grew more demanding, the usual questions surfaced in certain corners of the internet. Long periods apart, busy filming schedules, the ordinary pressures that fame amplifies and that couples quietly manage. But neither Henry nor Liv has given those questions much oxygen. There have been no verified reports of separation, no credible accounts of significant conflict. What the public record shows consistently is two people who show up for each other at premieres, on social media, in interviews where Henry speaks about Liv with a particular kind of ease that is difficult to perform over years. The challenges, to the extent any exist, appear to be the ordinary ones: parenthood, distance, the weight of a career that keeps expanding. Nothing from what can be responsibly reported suggests anything other than a marriage that has quietly, consistently held. Today, Liv Lo is a yoga instructor, a television presenter, and a wellness entrepreneur. She runs her own workout program called FitSphere and works as a yoga instructor for Tonal. She is also writing a book about motherhood titled Health Begins with the Mother. She and Henry share two daughters and continue to live in Venice Beach, California. Liv maintains a presence on social media that reflects her values: wellness, family, honest conversations about motherhood, and an aesthetic that feels intentional rather than performative. She is not hiding. She is simply living on her own terms. In a media landscape that often reduces the partners of famous men to footnotes or accessories, Liv Lo has constructed a life with real texture, a career built on something she believes in, a family she is clearly present for, a marriage that has lasted through the most disorienting kind of change, the kind that arrives when someone you love becomes famous overnight. She was not waiting in the wings of Henry Golding's story. She was already in the middle of her own. There is something worth sitting with in the story of Henry Golding and Liv Lo. Hollywood is, by design, a machine that rewards reinvention and spectacle. It tends to treat the private lives of its stars as raw material, something to be managed, monetized, or mined for content. Henry and Liv have navigated that machine without appearing to be consumed by it. She is Taiwanese and Italian. He is Malaysian and British. They met in Singapore at a party neither of them planned to attend. They built a life before the world was watching, and they have chosen to keep much of it that way even after it began to watch very closely. The version of celebrity marriage that the media loves to narrate is one of collision, rise, and inevitable unraveling. This one has simply continued, quietly, with two daughters and a home near the ocean and a book about motherhood in progress. What does it say about us that a stable, private, loving marriage in Hollywood still feels like the unexpected ending? And in a world that rewards visibility above almost everything else, what does it cost a person to choose to remain in the most meaningful ways ordinary? Leave your thoughts in the comments.